Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Appreciate it. I started the Clubhouse at the wrong time. I apologize. I put the wrong time up there. It automatically sets to 6 p.m. Pacific, and about 2 times out of 10, I forget to set the proper time. So I apologize about that. We are sort of an extra show today. We have no guest. Following up tomorrow, let me get the guest. We have possibly Ben Nelson. He is a guy that is really interesting dude. He's revolutionizing education. You'll see what I'm talking about when you get him in here. On Wednesday, we hopefully will have Megan Daum, who's a great writer, very interesting, has a lot to talk about. And then we have a urologist on Wednesday, Dr. Ashley Tapscott. Anything urological you'd like to talk about, we will discuss it. But today, it's anything you want to talk about. I'm out on the Restream watching you guys, and of course, we're in Clubhouse as always. And for Clubhouse, all you got to do is raise your hand, and I'll bring you up from the audience into the podium. In fact, I've got a few hands up right now. Let's do it. Lizzie Press. We'll just get right to the calls. I've got a couple other things I want to talk about. I noticed on some of the live streams I've been on, there's a lot of interest in narcissism all of a sudden again. Hi, Lizzie. What's going on?
Can you hear me? Sorry, I did I unmute myself?
Yep, you did.
Okay.
Yep, it's perfect.
Oh my God. I am sorry. I'm not trying to fangirl out or anything like that. I just want you to know that I've been like, and this is, let me include your wife in this because I think she's lovely too. You've been a focus of like my, let me explain the fantasy. It's not like
this should be interesting. Please get right to it. Let me make it easy for you. I've noticed how intimate the relationships are with YouTube and streaming shows and stuff. They feels like your friend you're hanging out with, right? I mean, you really feel like you miss them if you don't go to if you miss a show or it's very odd. But go ahead.
It's a very weird feeling. It's funny you should mention that because with just celebrity in general, it's like, I don't like that feeling of like, I know something about somebody, but they don't know me. Like, and how, the cult of celebrity in this country and all that.
It's crazy.
Now, so it's not, yes, it's more of like what you do that I'm such a fan of, but specifically, okay, you were part of a movie. I don't know the depth of how big of a part you were. I know you narrated it.
Oh yeah, Divorce Corp. Yeah, Divorce Corp. Yes. Yeah, that was developed and written. They came to me to read the narration and to help with promotion, but I got rather involved with it. And the guy that really spearheaded it was a surgeon who became a biotech entrepreneur and then got a divorce. And he said he's a super bright guy. And he just said he was sitting in family court and watching these catastrophes roll by. And he thought, first of all, I need to understand what's going on here better. Clearly, there's a lot of hidden information. And secondly, this is a catastrophe. This is a mess. And thus Divorce Corp.
Well, I want to thank you, by the way, for that. And, for all you do, because we all know. But that movie in particular. So I'm living that nightmare and have been for about a decade.
10 years. Oh my God.
About a decade. And so the irony is I did have a baby with a sort of a celebrity. Okay. And he's an actor. And I mean, a character actor. So whatever, it's not super famous, but probably will definitely make 7 figures minimum for the rest of his life. But he stole my child. He took me to court. He absolutely used the family court. I don't know how much you remember of that movie and the ills of what goes on there, and just it's and I am in a place. So, and then has now, he lost, by the way, he completely lost in court. And this is what I find to be sort of terrifying in a way that if you really think about it, whether it's the Supreme Court of any state or just of the Supreme Court, which is sort of the highest, the highest, I feel like there's a big problem with accountability in our world, in our country.
Mhm.
And who is the Supreme Court? Who are the courts accountable to? Really, nobody. That was sort of
especially family court. Family court, the
right.
part you don't realize that. So if I could just summarize some of the really serious concerns I had after learning about this, you first of all, you relinquish your constitutional privileges at the door. It is outside of the normal function of our Constitution. I don't understand why that happens or how that happens, but it happens. Number one. Number two, the judges and the attorneys involved in family court are all very chummy, sort of work for each other and consult with each other. And then you throw in the psychologists, and that is sort of an endless source of revenue for people that want to keep milling, the conflict. It just can keep going and going and going, and the attorneys will do it, keep it going until the money runs out. It's just it's just unreal.
And if you're a regular person like I was, who was with, and I do really believe my ex has absolutely covert, malignant narcissist. The only difference I feel like is between someone like a Donald Trump and my ex is a paid liar. So you could see Donald Trump coming from a mile away. You know what you're dealing with. But with someone that's an actor, they're like paid to lie. And so when somebody wants, and I think there's a lot, and you're one of the few people that touches on this subject. I don't think so. I think it's a lot easier. And look, I'm guilty of this myself. It's a lot easier to, it's hard for people to accept evil. That's what I'm guilty of, because I was with this guy, and I think we were too young. We were teenagers, so I don't think he knew or I knew, at the time. But it's people have a hard time understanding evil, and so instead of getting their heads around that, they would rather say, "Oh, it's probably something wrong with me."
Well, so hold on. So you're getting into this kind of where I wanted to go today, but you've leapt into a really interesting aspect of it. Well, what do you mean by evil? Because this is something, I mean.
And so I want to make it clear that I won my case.
Yeah, let's not aim at a particular.
Stole my kid.
Yeah, let's not aim at anybody. Anyway. Well, that's awful.
Yeah, I'll just make it just brief by saying I won my case and he stole my kid anyway. So for 10 years, my child's been not kidnapped legally by utilizing the court system. He just did it anyway, and there's no accountability.
Great.
And so when I say evil, I've done it sort of a deep dive over about a decade studying this to really understand. I didn't even know the word narcissist, other than meaning vain, like how my stepmom used to call me and my sister narcissistic, we were vain. I didn't know about narcissistic personality disorder, meaning lacking empathy, and what comes with that, and what the level that these people will go to. And I really think people just are and as time goes on, this person used the pandemic as just a complete way to completely block off communication with my son and I, who I've always been I raised him the first 5 years of his life. We've always been extremely close. And now it's just terrifying. And so I think people underestimate the level of it's very hard to come to grips with evil and that it exists.
Well, you've given us a nice sort of springboard to pursue this conversation this evening. So, Lizzie, I'm going to put you back in the audience. I thank you for coming on, and thank you for the nice comments. And hopefully, we'll keep taking your questions here on Clubhouse as time goes on, because we do these on a regular basis, and I'm happy to. I do kind of remember when people show up here. So let's talk about it just for a minute. And I see you guys in the waiting room here with hands up. I'll get you in a second. One of the things on the restream here, do we all agree that evil exists? Okay. And the question, though, it gets rather complicated. Where mental illness or neurological problems or personality disorders leave off and evil begins. The only kind of evil I know of is psychopathic evil, where people actually enjoy seeing other people suffering. There is such a thing as someone who has there's various syndromes of arousal, the worst being sexual, other just being glee and delight in other people's misery and horror. And that can go very, very bad. So that is evil as far as I'm concerned, but that is pretty rare. That is, I mean, you have to be a psychopath. You have to probably been severely abused as a child. And then you still have to find enjoyment from other people's misery, which is not a normal, Johnny Demonic, himself a demon, says, buckle in for nature versus nurture. Right, there are some genetic correlates to psychopathy, obviously. So, in fact, some people believe that pure psychopathy is really a genetic disorder. Psychopaths really are people that don't have feelings. It's not what narcissists are, right? Narcissists are people for whom feelings don't matter very much, at least in certain circumstances. They lose track of them. And not only so much feelings, but your feelings in particular. And so they have what's called empathic failure, particularly when they're getting angry and they're sort of engaged in their narcissistic rage, or you interfere with them getting something they want very much. Then your feelings really may not matter. A psychopath literally doesn't know what a feeling is. It's interesting when, if you've seen the Hulu series Dropout about Elizabeth Holmes, the one woman that did this business with the stupid drop of blood for Theranos, she several times in the scripts goes, I know I'm not normal. I don't have feelings. She goes, I know I love you, but I just don't have feelings like other people have feelings. And it's well portrayed in there. So not having, one of the things that really sets people up to do evil is not having feelings, right? Because if you don't have feelings, if you can't appreciate feelings in yourself, how can you appreciate them in someone else, right? And so narcissists lose track of them. Now, there are three, let's see. I'm looking at your comments on Restream here just a second. Don't shame me for liking to be, no kink shaming. That's not what I'm getting into. Humor and awful things to laugh it off instead of getting sucked into the depression. Well, humor and awful things, as long as it's a strategy for dealing with awful things, not a way of actually ignoring awful things or pretending they don't exist, or actually finding glee in awful things. So, okay. So there are three common sort of personality disorders are characterized by A, B, and C, essentially. There's dependent personalities, there's obsessive compulsive personalities, the paranoid personalities, but the cluster B personalities are the ones that have been absolutely predominant for the last 50 years. Before that, they were not. In fact, in the late 19th century, people debated whether narcissistic personality disorder even existed. That's how unusual it was, and now it is commonplace. But equally as common is borderline, which is the other one in the cluster B trait, the narcissistic cluster. So it's borderline personality disorder, sociopathic personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. But actually having a personality disorder is fairly unusual. It's only a few percentage points in the population at large. But having traits of one of these three areas, exceedingly common today, exceedingly common. And it's creating lots of trouble. Lots of problems. And I would say that the number one problem is envy. And I saw it coming when I wrote the book, The Mirror Effect. If you look through there, you'll see me referencing envy a lot. I wanted to write an entire chapter on it and how I felt that envy is what creates the guillotines. There it is, an old book. And thank you, Caleb. And that the guillotines would come out. I knew it was much like pre-revolutionary France when I wrote that book. And I said that there's got to be a time when we start scapegoating massively. And that's it. That's cancel culture. That is what that is. That is acting out of envy. If somebody else triggers envy or narcissistic rage, you must bring them down. And envy is not jealousy. Jealousy is you have something I want. I'm going to work really hard to get it. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that you have it and I don't. Envy is you have something that I don't have. I have to knock you down. I have to bring you down to my level. That's a disgusting trait. A terrible, terrible trait. All right, so we'll talk more about it in just a second. Finn, what's going on?
you hear me?
I hear you. George.
Excellent. So, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
I posted a couple of times at locals. There's a guy called Jack Barsky. He's former KGB, is now an American citizen, has an incredible autobiography, brand new podcast series. And right as the Russia-Ukraine thing started, he's been a contributor on podcasts and all the major cable news channels. He's very easy to get a hold of. I've had email exchanges with him before, and I think he would be a phenomenal guest for this stream.
All right, Susan, make note. Be very interesting. I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. A lot of goofy stuff.
Write it down.
I'm sure you know the show The Americans.
Yeah.
He was one of those.
Oh, interesting.
The real deal. Yeah. It's a phenomenal life story. He was born in East Germany, was a chemist and recruited by the KGB, sent to the States, lived in his fake being American for 10 years, and eventually what he calls retired from the KGB and has been an American. And his takes on the internals of, the former KGB and now, what's now the FSB and the Kremlin are quite interesting.
Can you give us a little sketch? A little
he's
preview of what we're going to learn?
I think, let me see, think of one specific thing. Well, he talks a lot about how people are saying that Putin wants Putin thought that the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was the downfall of the Soviet Union, and he's trying to rebuild it. But in reality, from his perspective, he's trying to rebuild the Russian Empire, and Ukraine, particularly Kyiv, was the start of the Russian
culture,
the roots,
the culture.
Yes.
Yeah. No, he wants to restore the Slavic roots and the Slavic Empire.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing, it's a little bit unrelated, but he also spoke about the Yuri Bezmenov video.
That's that one from the 70s where he was describing how they would deconstruct America. Yeah. Right.
And his perspective was the KGB was not powerful enough to do what Bezmenov said. And Bezmenov wasn't actually like a KGB agent per se. I mean, he was affiliated, but yeah, it's wild stuff. He got into a whole thing on Patrick Bet David's podcast about that. But yeah, I just think he would be a really fun talk.
I've already sent the emails out, and we'll see if they can track him down. So it's done. Done.
Sweet. Excellent.
All right, man.
Excellent.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Well done. Our buddy Leopold was there on the line. There he is. Let's get Leopold up here. And Susan, don't you owe Leopold an appearance on this show?
Yeah, and a bobblehead.
Leopold.
You have to sign a couple of them for me, because every time I go, I got to send these, you have to sign
Leopold's the winner. Hey, Leopold.
Leopold, and who's the other one? It was, oh God, what's his name? Harley.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't forgotten you. I'm just horrible at putting stuff in the mail.
And Leopold, I don't know if you're talking, but your mic is muted. Or were you being kind to Susan?
You get your collector's item. It'll be untouched.
Oh, you're still muted.
There you go.
There you are.
Hey, Dr. Drew.
Hey, you sound good. How's your health?
Oh, my God. Like 100 times better.
Good.
I was in a health immersion. I can't really talk in detail about it. I could talk to you off air about it.
Is it in this country?
But no, it was in the Middle East.
Oh, I've heard about these places.
Yes.
And it really worked, huh?
Oh, my God. The pain is about 90% gone. I'm off 3 different medications already. It's amazing, and it's as simple as it could be. I mean, I would not have believed it if you told me that, doing what we did in this health immersion would solve a lot of the issues.
How long was it?
But what's that?
How long were you there?
I was there for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And basically lost 14 pounds. I'm off medication.
Right.
The pain is gone. And it was as simple as being on a whole plant food diet, and then stress reduction through yoga, and mild exercise. I know it sounds so ridiculously easy and basic, and I would not have believed if you said this is what you need to do to, kind of cure some of these long COVID symptoms. I would not have believed it.
Isn't that interesting?
And
I've got a friend that took the booster and got severe long-term COVID, like severe.
Oh God, yeah.
And so I may talk to him about
Well,
this.
I've been talking with Joe, and boy, I mean, he and I have, with all the studies and reading some of the interesting stuff about the booster shots and it actually inducing some issues.
Oh yeah, no, it's not without risk. Let's be super clear about it. It's not without risk, and weird that I couldn't say that 3 months ago, without being deplatformed. It's just such.
Of course,
bullshit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, of course it's bullshit. Yeah. But I know that you are a avid meat eater.
I am, but I've had I'm much like Jordan Peterson, who had an extreme positive response to the eat. That's been really had a positive response. I really have. When I get away from it, I don't feel as good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think there are different biologies out there. I think that's what it boils down to. Very different.
I got you. Yeah. But I wanted to also talk to your first caller's point. I know that that I was going through a family court issue.
Right.
$100,000 in 3 years of prolonged agony has finally come to an end. But family court it looks like a court, and just like you said in divorce court. If you can remember some of the stuff.
Oh yeah,
it looks like a court. There's a judge, there's lawyers, there's clerks.
Yeah, but it's not a court.
It's not a real court.
No, and you leave your privileges at the door, which is the really weird thing about it. That's crazy.
Well, and that's the thing. Your fate is in the hands of one judge. There's no jury.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. The judges and the lawyers all know each other. They're very chummy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they try to milk every last bit out of you and say, okay, then we'll finally come to an agreement. But that's after going through the ringer. And like I said, I spent $100,000 on something I shouldn't have spent any money on.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, I had a mediation. I had 12 years ago. And that was essentially an agreement, that, this is what you're going to get. And my ex, basically got no debt.
And if you invested that money, you'd have $1 million.
That's right.
Oh my God, Susan, it's so right. Oh.
Yeah. And there's a weird manipulation that goes on with the lawyers where they go to both parties. They'll go like, well, that's your right. That's your right to do this. So don't you want to get what's rightfully yours? And then God. And they know that's another year of their fighting and collecting fees, right?
And there's no lawyer that will take it on contingency because it's an hourly, so they have no incentive to stop the fight.
Mm-hmm. No, it's high. It's disincentivized. In fact, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and the thing that's fueling it basically is anyone who owns a home in California. If there's equity in it, that's what the lawyers
Susan,
go after.
promise me we never get divorced. Right here now in front of everybody. Susan, you ready? Make the commitment to me right now. We'll never get divorced, no matter what.
We're good.
You just
you just have to put up with me being an angry bitch sometimes.
What? Say it again. Say it again. The what?
You just have to put up with me being an angry bitch sometimes.
Okay, but if it comes to divorce, just go ahead and shoot me. You just go ahead and commit murder.
So I can go to jail?
No, I won't tell anybody. Don't worry. I'll
You'll be dead.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. Jeanette and I got married, and before I got married to her, I told her I had to prenup her. And it's California. I said, we're in the state of California. It is the most horrific. To have family court be in your life is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And there you go. And you've had several guests on in the past who've been raped by the family court.
Oh my God! It was what's his name? The guy I met over in Gutfeld, the comedian, the actor.
He's an actor, right?
Yeah, he was really. I mean, I was skeptical. I had to read his book.
Oh yeah, and then
I read his book too.
Yeah. It just sounded like there was something wrong with him.
Well, it sounded like he was distorting certain things, but I'll be damned if there weren't. he had all the
treated him
evidence.
so poorly. It's like, well, what was wrong with you? You know?
Yeah.
It's just not right.
It was bad.
Well, when you go through, when you get rear-ended by the family court, you come out, kind of warped and not thinking straight because I went through 3 years of hell, and so I feel bad for your first caller.
Oh my God, I know it's terrible. So ring it on my narcissism and evil topic. Do you have a definition of evil?
Well, it's funny that you should mention that. So it just so happens one of my good friends who I met in a 12-step happens to be a family court lawyer. So it kind of all ties together.
Is he the evil? Is he the devil? Is that what you're saying? You met a devil in 12-step?
Well, the funny thing is, you meet people in 12-step. He's the son of an incredibly famous screenwriter, and he practices Schadenfreude. I mean, you know that concept, right? The pleasure of seeing people in pain, and it
he
comes
likes
from
that. He likes that.
He's and I can only take little doses of him. I can't be with him too often.
Does he feel like he's getting like people like justifying, like he feels like this is justice for people that deserve it or something?
Yeah, well, he's a very, he's very, he makes Woody Allen look normal in terms of his neuroses. He's a member of my tribe, and basically, we inherently have issues with neuroses and such, but he takes it to a new level. And he, the thing with him is, he's a loner, but he's brilliant. He's a brilliant man, but he has lots of issues, and he is a narcissist, and he has a lot of issues. And like I said, I can only take small doses of him. I mean,
Well,
like I said, I find
be intriguing. It'd be interesting to thump on him a little bit and see how he functions.
Oh, well, my ex-wife wants to torture him to death. That's how.
Wow, you've surrounded yourself with people with certain proclivities here, Leopold. I just saying.
This is true, Dr. Drew. Listen, the only normal one that I've had thus far is Jeanette. So,
all right. Well, listen,
I have very few people.
I got to put you back down. I've got a bunch of hands up here. So, but thank you. We're going to get you on here, Susan, right?
Yeah, you got to get your topics together, and we can,
I love it.
Chit chat.
All right.
It sounds great. I love it.
All right. The winner.
All right.
The winner.
All right.
The Where is the Dr. Drew bobblehead, which is here. Susan would slay me if I didn't mention this. And you should go get your bobbleheads where, Susan? DrDrew.com/shop.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, there it is. You must be slow on the sales because you've been anxious when you've been moving the bobbleheads around lately. Yes?
I'm typing right now.
Okay.
So, I can only do one thing at a time.
I'm gonna ask you to turn.
And then I had to turn my mic on.
I'm gonna ask you to turn your attention this way for a second because.
Okay. What do you want?
I know people are asking for you. No, Susan. No, Susan. Where is Susan
I'm on the
today?
restream. I'm responding.
Okay, but they want
I saw a guy named Sean Merrick, but I don't know if it's the same one that I used to work with at Sideshow.
Oh, interesting. I remember Sean.
He produced my Calling Out with Susan Pinsky.
And which you're going to bring back, right?
Yeah, we're thinking about it in May. So.
You'll be coming up in May?
I'm coming up in May.
For the mommies out there, you'll appreciate that.
I want to get Annie on here on my show.
Oh, really? That's interesting. All right, let me bring Bruce Wayne up here. Hi, Bruce.
Bruce.
Hey,
Mick Wayne.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. I would like to ask you, Doctor, what's your medical specialty?
Okay.
Is it psychology?
So let me tell you my training. So I had really good science training at Amherst College. Did 4 years of medical school. Then I did 3 years general internal medicine. Then I ended up doing a chief residency in teaching internal medicine. Then I continued to teach and had an assistant clinical professor position in internal medicine. Alongside of that, I started working in a psychiatric hospital. And in that hospital, I ran their medical services. I became sort of an expert in the medical care of psychiatric patients. But in 1991, I ended up taking over their addiction services and became the program medical director of addiction medicine, and then got a second professorship through the Department of Psychiatry, where I was teaching medical students about addiction medicine. And so I sort of had three simultaneous careers. I had outpatient medicine, inpatient medicine, and ran a large addiction recovery program. And so my opinions on addiction recovery and addiction treatment are pretty, I've been through so many cycles and fads and ideas in addiction treatment. I'm very skeptical of moving too far from the basics. And I'm concerned when my peers aren't trained in the full spectrum of how addiction treatment goes. Anyway, that's a sidebar. But so I'm a fellow with the American College of Physicians. I'm a fellow with the American Board of Addiction Medicine. I'm double board certified, and there you go.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Doctor. I'd like to ask you from your professional perspective, what do you think would cause Will Smith to get up on stage at the Oscars and slap, another celebrity?
It's a really important question, and I'm not sure we'll ever know the answer. I will tell you that, I've treated a lot of celebrities over the years, and whenever there has been behaviors upon which people are speculating in the celebrity press, TMZ and whatever, they're trying to figure out what's gotten into that guy. I can assure you, when I actually got them in the room and closed the door and evaluated this person, the problems were far worse than anything anybody had speculated. So what causes somebody to violate the sort of norms of behavior whereby the basic principle of audience and performer and what those roles are is violated, and on live TV, something really profound is going on. I don't know what, I don't know how, I hope he's okay, but it is something, and I suspect we will never know. But it's not nothing. I promise you, it's not nothing. It's something. I don't know what. I couldn't even speculate. There's many things that I can see, behaviors I can see, and I can, like when Charlie Sheen became hypomanic, he actually became manic. That was easy. That was easy to see. That's what that is. That's if you were teaching in medical school and you wanted to show an example of mania, you'd roll the tape of Charlie Sheen back in those days when he was strung out on a lot of stuff. Now, what was the mania due to? Well, back then,
I don't think Will Smith was high on pot, though.
Did I say that?
Well, you sound like a real doctor.
Thank you, Bruce. I don't know I don't know if he was high on
anything. If he was
anything.
high on pot, he wouldn't have done that. But
I don't know if he's high on anything, Susan. I see what you're saying. You're saying you're
I
ruling
can
out
say it. I'm
weed.
not a doctor. I'm just
She's ruling out weed because there was aggression involved.
Yeah.
So I see. Okay, yeah.
Like, sometimes when people drink one too many, they forget where they are.
So you think it could be drinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could.
So that's possible.
It could.
I don't think he was drinking at that time. I think that. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah,
You have a theory?
What I think?
What do you think?
I think that you probably understand this a lot better than other people that actually don't live in California and Los Angeles. I'm assuming that you live there.
Yeah.
But I think that being a celebrity is so stressful that people cannot even comprehend what it's like. I think it's like hell, basically. And especially when the media narrative about your life changes as well. Because he has gotten some bad press for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So to find a catharsis for that and to essentially expel a lot of the stress, aggression, and anger was probably difficult for him. Being a celebrity, I guess they feel that they have to do it in a public way too, because an ordinary person, if they're angry, they will get their anger out.
Well, let me tell you, having had a public life and treated many, many, many celebrities, being a celebrity is not that difficult. It's better. It's better than not being a celebrity. So what they fear,
really?
What they fear is losing the celebrity, being irrelevant, getting older. That's what they freak out about. The celebrities, there are a few that hate it. You know who they are. But most of them fear losing it. Now, you're absolutely correct, Bruce, when it comes to the narratives and the negative press. They freak out. You got to remember, most of these people have never had a job. And their identity is completely caught up in bullshit, frankly. And so you can tell the difference between celebrities that have had real jobs and those that have not. It's an important thing to have worked in the world and toiled. If it's all been, zero gravity celebrity life, you don't know anything else, and you cling to it like a maniac, which is what happens to a lot of these folks. And because their whole identity is tied into it, any threat upon it includes a deep threat to who they are. So it's a little different than you imagine. In fact, when you're treating a celebrity, the greatest problem I have is the speed with which they want to return to work. That is their greatest threat in terms of them getting better from addiction and things like that. So it's interesting, but it's not as though there's a special mental health manual for celebrities. There just isn't. They're the same as everybody else. They get the same. In fact, they have a little higher incidence of certain mental health issues than the average public. I don't know if some of that is
like what?
Bipolar disorder, addiction, narcissistic traits. Those are I actually have the only published study on this. Because I know so many celebrities, I have contact with so many, I was able to actually do personality inventories on over 250 of them. And it was very clear, more childhood trauma. In fact, we were able to build a model that showed that the celebrity itself was a bid to deal with the narcissistic injury of the childhood trauma. So actually the
Wow.
celebrity itself was supposed to save them. Did you see Will Smith in the interviews when he went around last year talking about his book, where he talked about the domestic violence in his home and how he would never go back to that? That's what he is, running away from that and building this huge persona on top of it. In fact, he went so far in the interviews I saw to say, "This isn't me. The Will Smith you think you know it is not me. It's not. He went so far as to say that, and yet he couldn't drop the Will Smith I know that I see in public. I don't know who he is underneath that, but he was at least able to say that his genuine self is somebody different. And the other thing celebrities do is they in addition to running back to work quickly, they tend to avoid the real hard work. They can unless their life depends upon it, like a drug addict, that kind of thing. So they'd rather return to this bid it's so gratifying to be an actor, to be a celebrity, to do all these things that are really they work, except they don't. They work while you're doing them, but the shame and all the feelings that are left behind from the adverse childhood experiences, of course, are still there. Does that make sense?
Thank you, doctor.
You bet.
After this, conversation, I'm now convinced you are a real doctor. I'm joking.
All right, Bruce, thank you for that. I appreciate it, my friend.
Thank
Bruce,
you.
All right, buddy. Thank you, man. That's so funny. Well, the one thing.
Wait, I take offense to that. I'm going to slap you in the face.
Yeah,
Don't you say mean things about my husband.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Susan.
You just keep my husband's name out of your mouth.
Oh, here you go.
Now, listen, this is a perfect example. Like I remember when people were like totally attacking you on Twitter and stuff. And I was responding. I was the only one who would respond. Like, I was like, dude, like, don't say that about like, I was so protective of you. And I get that. But,
you get that feeling, yeah.
But if he's had abuse in his family and he comes from an abusive family, who's to say he's not also doing that kind of stuff? So
in some way, let's not accuse him of anything. But
behind the scenes. But what I'm saying is, I mean, we saw him act like a crazy person, and I would not want to get yelled at by him. And I mean, Chris Rock was just like, dude, okay, all right,
yeah,
I won't. Okay,
won't.
Well, sorry.
What are we doing
joke,
here?
Man, it's about G.I. Jane. Like, huh?
Yeah, it was so.
But there is something deeper, and maybe it's just sensitivity in Hollywood about being on top and making it work again after COVID-19, and being
something up
in the public eye and have to go to these award shows, and I don't know. It's all very weird. Yeah. But anyways, I am very defensive about you when people say horrible things, and sometimes I respond, and sometimes they go, oops, sorry, and sometimes they don't.
so here's the one thing I want to say, and we'll take a little break and we'll go back to the phones, which is that I found myself recently coaching people up not to think of these traits that have names that are sort of pejorative by their nature. Don't think about the person negatively, or that these traits so all traits are adaptive. It's the human trying to adapt, trying to survive. So there's a reason we have these various traits we run to when we've had essentially our being attacked with trauma, abuse, whatever it might be. We have these traits that develop, and they are adaptive. And once you sort of hit adulthood, those adaptations don't work so well. However, it comes with assets. It can be an asset or a liability. I was saying this on a TikTok today, which is if you're a fighter pilot and you have this bigger than life self you built around yourself, you feel invincible and you could never be hurt. That's good for being a fighter pilot, as long as you're not heedless. It's good than being afraid. How could you possibly be a fighter pilot? So there's that asset, but the liability is the envy we've been talking about, the empathic failure, and those things really come out in the interpersonal relationships. It's, when I first started doing Loveline, I did not have a lot of psychiatric experience at that time. And I remember thinking, oh, the relationships is where people's craziness comes out. That's where whatever trauma we've had, we're reenacting. Our attractions are built on our traumas. We, have feeling states that we don't normally have or are evoked by other people. It's where our stuff comes out, is in the interpersonal world. All right, so let's take a little break. I've got a few hands up on the Clubhouse. I'll get to that in just a second. Of course, I'm watching you on Restream, and we will be right back. Let me take a minute to tell you about Blue Mics. Over the 2 years we've been working with our friends at Blue Mics, the world has completely adapted to working and meeting virtually. So whether you know it or not, you probably spent a lot of time in front of a microphone. And take it from someone who has spent probably half my life on a microphone, sounding good is extremely important. And because of Blue Mics, I have never sounded better. But a good mic isn't just for broadcasting. Quality audio makes a big impact on whomever is listening on the other end, from coworkers to clients to friends. Clear sound can make all the difference. Thanks to Blue Mics, you don't need complicated or expensive equipment to get professional results. For simple plug-and-play setups, try Blue Mics Yeti series. It plugs right into your USB port on your computer. Need something more robust? Blue's got an entire line of professional XLR mics, like the Mouse or the Blueberry we use here in our studio, as well as the more compact Encore 300. I love it for clear quality sound when we travel. Bottom line, there is no excuse to be the one on the conference call who sounds like you're in a tunnel or underwater. I cannot say enough about Blue Mics, and once you try one, you will never go back. To take your audio to the next level, just go to drdrew.com/blue. That is drdrew.com/BLUE. So I was watching the Restream and explaining to people that people were asking, bring Loveline back. And Loveline doesn't really work. Radio doesn't work the way it used to. So we've been doing, Dr. Drew After Dark is sort of the new incarnation of Loveline.
On steroids.
On steroids a little bit. And Susan's actually part of this show. So
yeah, I think I'm running the show, though.
All right, let's get into that in a second. But you can, see, somebody said I want to call in. We do it a little differently at After Dark. We do voice messages. So you call in at 818-253-1693. Caleb, maybe you want to put that up there.
I think one day we should have Annie and Nadav on, maybe on a weekend, and then take the After Dark calls. So we can, just do it with them one day.
818-253-1693, if I remember the number
Nadav
correctly.
said it has to be on the weekend because they work too much during the week.
Okay, great. That'd be fun. So we'll get those guys in here as well. But why do you think you're ruining the show, Susan? Well, first of all, you were laughing before the break. Is there something you want to share with us?
Chris said, I guess it had to do with being crazy or whatever. She goes, just get a minivan and a bunch of kids in Wisconsin, and that'll take care of that. I don't know. I don't know what the joke was. She probably better delivery on her behalf, but.
So how do you ruin the show?
So no, I just feel like
Tom Cigar says, Susan, you're 100% good content. I agree. So how do you ruin it?
Yeah, I know, but I think some people think you are a certain way, and they don't want me to divulge so much information. And it is. I mean, some people find me annoying, and I don't have a problem with that. I get it, because you can't make 100% of the people happy all the time. And I've always been like that. So
all right, so I'm watching the Restream. So I'm looking down at the
These are our fans.
Of
course, they all love me, and I really appreciate it. But there are people out there who have. I mean, the comments have been predominantly positive, but it's. I don't know. There's been some negative ones, and I guess I just went, oh, good. At least I know that, somebody out there is being
even
real.
some of our I don't want to say critics on the Restream. There are provocateurs on the Restream like you. Okay.
I was low and loose for a little on a couple of comments on Instagram, but that was Instagram.
So you understand,
YouTube was
those of you from your mom's house, they said, "Oh, you're not high and tight, you're low and loose," and that's funny. Here we go. Can we get more Susan on there? They're saying, you see that?
You know what? Nadav said no because they don't want to oversaturate. I said.
I understand.
So I'm not oversaturating anything.
We're going to get you back.
But they don't pay me, so it's okay.
And Blake, we will get those boys on here. Thank you for that.
No, I enjoyed doing it. It was really fun, and we have one that's coming up that it should be interesting.
It's very intense.
Very intense. But
so let's just say I give Susan a rash of shit about something.
I know they're so.
We will be really nice next time, but we were not.
Well, for example, like the armpit thing that was on the last show that I was on.
People didn't like that.
They said they asked me what are erogenous zones, and I was like, everybody knows that, right? But then I thought I would throw one at Drew that he doesn't like enjoy or he has no interest in because. It's not like I was trying to be funny, I guess, but some people didn't. They found it tasteless.
That one comment?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's other stuff.
Then they were just responding. They are not They are not your mom's house people. They're not. They don't understand what this is. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then when I guess when the war broke out, the ratings kind of went down a little bit, but I think that's for everybody. We have some new stuff going on over there, but I love it. I love being.
They actually are there. I'm looking at their comments. They actually want you to drink and come in there. So,
well, I kind of came in a little tired after going out the night before, so you'll get to see what that looks like.
Well, I will. I'll pull the curtain back and say. Susan's behavior was so concerning, we gave her a sociopath or psychopath test. And she
don't tell everybody what happened.
You're gonna have to watch to see the
No,
results.
it hasn't come out yet. No spoilers.
All right.
See, this is what you do, Drew. You send out the spoilers, and then we get in trouble.
Yeah,
I'll get a phone call from Nadav.
Yeah,
he thinks it's me. Okay,
no,
but it's usually you.
It's me.
I take all the shit for that too. Like Susan can't keep a secret. I heard that on the other day when you guys were on together. It's like
guys.
Yeah, you and Nadav. You were telling him that I can't keep a secret, but I think it's more you than me.
Probably.
I'm really good at keeping secrets.
I don't know. I'm not gonna let you get away with that completely.
Well, sometimes you don't tell me it's a secret, and then it's maybe
it's that you forget it's a secret. That's a different problem.
All right, here we go again.
All right, but
hot sauce is the best.
Yeah, that's what I just put up. Let's get to it.
And he is adorable, though. I love working with him. And Nadav wasn't on the show with me last time. I was kind of bummed because I love his big chuckle. You know,
we miss him.
He's like a soundtrack of laughs. It really changes the momentum.
Yeah, it does. All right, so we're gonna try to get some guests up here. This is Sean Asani.
And thank you for your calls on Clubhouse. Thanks, everybody. If you want to join Clubhouse, give me an email at contact@drdrew.com and we'll get you in there.
She'll put you through. Sean. Or Sean?
Hey, Dr. Drew. Thanks for taking my handwritten request. I just wanted to say I've been listening to you for a while. I used to be... Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I'm recovering from... I used to, be addicted to a couple of some prescription
opiates, benzos.
No. I just wanted to say that I'm trying to recover and
cool.
Thank you for doing all that you do and
just here's my words to you. What's important is keep trying. That's really all that's important. Just for alcoholism, there's some people don't understand that for somebody to get treatment and be better, that's really unusual. The average for alcohol, for alcohol, and alcohol is not as problematic as some of the other drugs. For alcohol, on average, it's 4 treatments and 5 years to get 1 year of sobriety. So it takes what it takes. I mean, you just got to keep swinging at the plate and just hang in there. And there's not one thing for everybody. There's some people need mood stabilization. Some people need replacement therapies, or what's called medically assisted treatment. There's lots of things that can be used for a given individual to make recovery possible. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Look, it's been really hard to recover, and I'm willing to accept the new stark reality that it's.
Just keep trying, my friend. Just stay there, accept support. If really the real problem these days is that nobody has enough resources to pay for a lot of professional services. Thank God there are free services everywhere, and thank God people have gotten used to using Zoom. You can use Zoom professional resources now. We use BetterHelp. I've referred to them before. And you can also get, obviously, any other professional resources. But 12-step is available everywhere all the time, and it's free. And it's free, and it's free, and it's free. And so you don't have to worry if you have trouble getting enough resources. But that is the number one problem that people have. Let's talk to Delilah.
Did you know there's a chat on Clubhouse?
I did know there's a little, I did see that. Yeah. Delilah? She's up there. Yeah, I was just looking at the chat. There you are. Susie.
Hi, how are you?
Susie, I'm good. What's going on?
I'm fine, thanks. I was really interested in what you had to say earlier because I'm a clinical social worker. When you were talking about the personality disorders. One of it was my favorite topic, actually, having been raised by somebody with cluster B. Would you agree that it's a spectrum disorder?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's interesting. It is a threshold issue for diagnosis, right? You either have the disorder or you don't. And again, interpersonal and professional functioning and that kind of thing is really sort of the threshold. But for everybody else, it is a continuum, right? And what we think of it as less, the reason I was laughing is people don't think of it as a continuum so much as a variety of traits, but same thing, right? It's continuous. Some of the traits are intense, some of them are lesser, some of them are, some people have lots of these traits, some people have very few of them. And so, yeah, in a sense, it is kind of a continuum, I'd say. I agree with that.
Yeah, because one of the things, I don't remember if you were the one who mentioned this a long time ago, but you can be a narcissist and not be a sociopath or a psychopath, but you can't be a sociopath or a psychopath and not be a narcissist. Correct. These are and same with borderline, right? Yes.
These are separate syndromes. In fact, there was a point at which in the DSM-5 they were going to get away from the way we still are characterizing personalities and have it all built around narcissism. Like there was a narcissistic core to all personality disorders, and they were going to build it out from there. But it didn't really work. It really is cluster B. I mean, it's the bottom line. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if they reconfigure cluster B a little bit.
That would be interesting. I hope that they do.
Yeah,
because it really is
and
a more broad.
You've seen it, I'm sure. What happened with in your situation? Was it mom or dad or?
Oh, my mother. My mother is a cluster B classic. I mean, obviously, we master what we cannot ourselves achieve. So here I am, doing the good work. But yeah, she was and is. She has depression, anxiety, borderline, narcissism. Something about her seems bipolar to me, honestly.
Well, some people theorize that bipolar and borderline are related. Speaking of continuums, that there's a continuum between bipolar and borderline. I'm not of that school of thought, but I see what they're talking about because the cycling of the moods and the very, very common, or the instability of the moods are so common in borderline, and often they get put on mood stabilizers, and often that helps. So people go, aha, see, it's actually a mood disorder. But it's
is interesting.
Yeah, it's like saying if somebody with addiction has a lot of mood problems, it's like, well, yeah, they will. I do put them on mood stabilizers. They will get better. They're drug addicts, and we're just trying to deal with the symptoms of drug addiction that include the mood disturbance. So yeah, it is
It's
interesting.
very hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard to differentiate.
Did you?
It's very hard to differentiate. I'm sorry. I was just saying, like when somebody's on drugs and alcohol, or when somebody has one of these mood disorders and personality disorders, it's very hard to differentiate until you get rid of or treat one of the, the issues.
Yep, that's right.
The addiction or whatever else is going on.
So
my mother, in fact,
my mom had some stuff. I can't quite. My mom was a mixed picture. Very odd to try to characterize. Christina P. had a dad who's a narcissist and a mom who's borderline. Dad was probably a sociopath, right? Because borderlines and sociopaths are super attracted to each other.
Big time.
Did you have both in your life? Was it?
No, my father was the enabler. He was and still is a saint. He's actually a retired physician. And he just did everything my mom asked of him just to keep her anger quiet.
Susan, you're laughing again. I don't know. What are you laughing about?
Is that what you do for me?
I think that's what Moore did for Helene.
Yeah, kind of. But I don't think she had I don't think she had a substance abuse problem. Hers was more psychological.
Yeah, more. She had the unregulated hostility that borderlines
But if you go into sobriety, like for example, our daughter just recently came out and she talks about it openly, so I can say it. She stopped smoking pot, and then all of a sudden, all her other diagnoses
went away,
went out the window.
Completely
she was
went
no
away.
longer manic depressive, or she didn't have, some kind of esophagitis, and she had, she had a million things.
The vomiting wasn't her gallbladder; it was the cannabis hyperemesis.
Yeah,
anything but look at the drug.
Yeah.
But that's what Susie's saying. That's her point, really. So.
But it's funny how people don't understand that.
I
never believed she was a manic depressive. I was
funny it's too tragic for me to call it funny when people spend long periods of time doing anything but looking at the drug and doctors co-sign that bullshit. So anyway,
I'm glad your daughter's doing better now.
Yeah,
that was wonderful to hear.
She says now she's so happy she's not waking up to a bong in the morning. Like I was like, what? Like really? I didn't know that. And I'm very proud of her. She's been sober for over 90 days.
Yeah.
So
amazing. Over 100 days.
That is amazing. Congratulations.
And very active in the program, like fully into the program, which has been amazing to see.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see how it works,
and the
firsthand.
The miracles start like very quickly, the kinds of things.
She woke up at 5:50 this morning and wrote for 2 hours.
There you go.
And she says,
wow.
I hope I can keep doing this. I said, yeah, probably can.
She can, because it's in her already. She just needed to remove the drug.
Yes.
The addictive piece of it. And not that she's not still addicted, but that she's not still connected to the drug the same way. So now she has the freedom to access all these other aspects of her and even be, I guess, in a sense, addicted to this new feeling and these new things that she's doing that are healthier.
That worries me a little bit because she has to be a perfectionist at everything. So
but
what
Susie,
could that turn into, Drew?
That we'll deal with her codependency and stuff later. I'm sure that's in there somewhere. But Susie, to your point about accessing, that has been one of the really interesting things. She's been accessing parts of herself that she had disavowed, and now integrating all the parts and bringing them all in and using the strengths of all these different things that she's done across her lifespan has been really interesting to watch. And that's recovery. That's the miracle of the process of recovery. So.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see her blossom because she's so smart. I mean, she comes from the two of you. She's full of all of these wonderful things. And I'm so glad that she's able to embrace them and access them and utilize them to her benefit at this time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Susie.
She's smarter than me.
Yeah, but now, Susie, it says on your Clubhouse profile here, Susie the Twit. So what's that all about? What's going on there?
Well, a friend helped me name my Twitter account. And my brother is, I don't want to say he's famous in radio. And so if you go to my Twitter page, it'll say Susie the Twit. I'm not Doug, meaning I'm not my brother.
Got it.
It's sort of,
Fantastic. Well, nice to meet you. And thank you for stopping by. And sorry about the mom thing, but I know what I know what that is. And it like everything comes with assets and liabilities. It gives you tons of empathy because you've been busy managing her most of your childhood, and now you can tune into other people. It's just keeping your boundaries clear become the challenge, right?
Absolutely. And I never realized your mom and my mom were at all similar. So I'm sorry about your mom as well. And thank you for being such a wonderful voice for all of us. Really appreciate you and Susan and everything that you do.
Thank you, Susie. Susie the Twit, everybody.
Thank you, Susie.
Yeah.
Your mom had a lot of trauma.
Which she never really told it. We could never really get
we
it
don't
out
know.
of her.
Well, we
don't know
know
what it
that she
was.
ran away. She left home at 18 and came to California to be an actress, was hanging around a lot of mobsters.
No, it was worse.
Married a man who was 50 when she was 18.
He was more than 50.
And was working in Hollywood,
He was more than 50, right?
And she was
closer to 60.
very attractive. So there might have been some sexual abuse, right?
She'd allude to it.
And she was always very angry at men, and so I'm assuming that happened. But I think her career ended when she had you too, and that was probably very difficult for her to suddenly be somebody else. So I kind of gave her credit for that, but she could get a little crazy.
You were subjected to a little bit of it once in a while, weren't you?
She was pretty nice to me, because I respected her for whatever she was, how she was. I was glad that, she had done what she wasn't the typical Pasadena wife.
No, that's for sure.
And that was good for me, because I'm not the typical Pasadena wife.
Caleb, what do you think? I don't know.
Don't rope me into this.
But then again, you wouldn't have. But then you wouldn't have found my mom on After Dark either. So
yeah, but you didn't. You weren't attracted to the Pasadena type. You were attracted to more like your mother, and I think I'm more like your mother.
That's what your mom used to say. I could never see it. You remember that?
Yeah, just maybe the glamorous kind of Hollywood fun.
Remember how she used to say that? Your mom?
Yeah.
I didn't. I could never figure out what she was talking about.
Yeah. Well, you're too close. Yeah, it's not your problem.
or actually, it is, but different for a different day. So, okay.
You're stuck with it now.
I just made you promise. You promised.
40 years you've been with this.
You promised in front of God and everybody there will be never no divorce. So
don't worry about it.
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
I know how much you like your money. I'll be around forever.
If I show up dead, you know what happened. That's what I'm saying. So.
Oh, God,
right,
Drew.
Listen.
I'm not going to kill you in your sleep. Don't worry.
Okay, well,
I'm going to poison you.
I want to make sure we put it on the record here, just in case you had no idea.
Push you off the balcony.
So let's wrap things up here, guys. Thank you for stopping by for an extra show, and Caleb for running in after your studies. Everything turn out okay?
We don't know yet. I still don't know how I tested positive for tuberculosis. It sounds like one of those things from like Oregon Trail.
No, I explained it. I explained it to you, right?
God.
Yeah,
right?
They explained it to me too. It's like it could have been latent. It could have been living in me for a year. That's why nobody seemed freaked out and worried about it. And I go research it. And I'm like, wait, a bunch of people die from this apparently. But they didn't seem worried.
That's secondary tuberculosis. That's activated tuberculosis. That's what they need to prevent now. So they can activate it by giving you the Humira and all that stuff they want to give you. So they've got to get it under control first, and it's easily controllable. Did they talk about the antibiotics you need to take?
Not yet, because they wanted to do the test again because I have no symptoms. So I had to do a CT scan and another blood test and redo it just to make sure it wasn't a false positive. Because it's just, I mean, what else can they toss? I mean, had COVID, then I had Crohn's, and I had now supposedly tuberculosis. It's like, what is the Oregon Trail thing?
It's primary TB. It's not.
I'm like, geez.
TB is very. Listen, you go on the street, the homeless. That's TB's all over the place. It's very common.
Well, that's what they told me.
So
that calmed me down by a lot. Is like understanding that I guess this is a really widespread thing and not to worry about it. And it's just I take some sort of antibiotics if it turns out to be there. So
correct.
I feel great.
It's why they tested you. It's why they test you, because this thing is around, and if you're going to be on immunosuppressive drugs, they can reactivate the TB, and that's a problem. And then the antibiotics, I'm not going to tell you they're fun. They're kind of a nuisance, but they work. So you just get it done, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and I sure went in there with that first blood test, and I was making jokes about it. I'm like, why are they giving me a TB test? This is so silly. I have no symptoms. And I came back to the same nurse today. I'm like, I guess this is why. This is why.
Our friend Anthony Brown said isoniazid for 6 months. That's right. And they actually have other protocols now, Anthony. They have combos, of antibiotics, and sometimes you can get by with 3 months. And so let's see what they want to do with him. It'll be interesting. But the old-fashioned is INH, isoniazid, 3 months. That's how we did it back in the day, right, Anthony? Anthony Brown's on the stream here. Okay, everybody, we appreciate you.
Look at
stopping
Rex. Rex is just like,
by.
he's just like laying down, just snoring. And what's he been up to while we were out of town?
I don't know.
Rex, what did you do? What did you party when I was gone?
Is he awake now?
Did you party? He's looking at me like, huh? What'd I do? Huh?
Caleb's doing a slow push on my camera what did you do?
Oh,
all right.
Guy.
So tomorrow, as I said, we should have Ben Nelson in here. We're going to talk about.
This was a good audience for no guests. Maybe that we should do this more often.
And for a sudden flyby.
No, it's nice to get everybody's questions and talk about what's on your mind.
Tomorrow will be at 2 because I have to go to Juicy Scoop tomorrow night.
Oh, we're tomorrow at 2:00.
Yes.
Pacific
time. And then on Thursday, Dr. Ashley Tapscott, we're going to talk a little urology here. And bring your urology questions that day. And whatever it might be, I have lots of things I want to talk about. All right, everybody, I'm sort of losing my voice here, weirdly. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow at 2:00.
Ta-ta.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at Dr.